This is the SE Needle Distributor Pro from MHW-3BOMBER. Let's unbox this together and see what we think about it. The first thing I noticed is it looks like the box is made out of perhaps some recycled paper, which is nice, environmentally friendly. On the back of the box, there's a number of things listed that was pretty interesting. I haven't really seen this before. They have a impurity element migration index, and then it also has an alloy element migration index. So it's kind of interesting. I've not seen that before provided on a manufacturer's box for coffee equipment. I guess it's transparency as far as what the tool is being made of and how it transfers the various materials that it's made of to the food that you're making. All right, let's open it up and see what we have inside. So inside the box, I immediately see here on the top that there is a QA certification. We see a little red stamp there, so someone on the team there checked this box out and made sure that everything was working properly on the QA side. A fairly thick manual, a lot of details, mostly because it has multiple languages, but it looks like it does give a fair amount of specifications on how to use it, so that's nice to see. I'll look at this later on. On the top, you can see there's I'm gonna call it a coaster that I'm assuming you're gonna set this on, or you can set this on your countertop. You can actually see the logo there in the middle, but also there is Make Heart Warm. So that would be, I'm assuming, what the MHW in MHW-3BOMBER comes from. So that's nice. It actually reminds me, there's a product called the Force Tamper, and it actually has a very similar sort of setup where it has concentric rings and says the logo in the middle of the Force Tamper with the same black and red motif. It's a nice product though. It's a nice rubberized three-dimensional piece. All right, let's take a look. What do we have next? Oh, we see the actual needle distributor itself, but let's see what we have in the little box on the side before we pull that out. The accessories box. That's what we got here. So in the accessories box, what do we have? We have a brush. It's a nice brush. Looks like it's hexagonally shaped. It's a nice brush. Has the logo of the company on it. Then we have needle nose pliers. It's nice to have it. I'm assuming it's for changing out the needles and not hurting your fingers. And the last thing we have in the accessory box is a little container of the needles themselves. Looks like there's probably, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 in here. I'm assuming that is an exact count for how many are actually in the distributor so that you can replace all of them. All right, so there's our accessories. Let's look at the tool itself. So this is very similar to another product that they had on the market, the same needle distributor idea. This one's a bit larger, it's quite a bit larger. It has a whole section here on the bottom that the other one didn't have that looks to sit directly on top of the portafilter. The way this works is you press and the needles spin. They rotate. You're pressing it down and as you release it back up. And basically the speed at which you press it and release it changes the rate that the needles spin. This is nice. The build quality of it feels good. It's all aluminum. It's got a nice finish on it. Feels very nice to the touch. Feels durable. Feels like it'll last for a long time. Shouldn't chip or anything like that. They also have I guess you could call it an accent color. So you have like a black glossy piece across the top here. I believe in looking at the pictures that I've seen online that this accent changes. So if you got the black version of this tool, then it would have silver accents on the top here. First, let's set this on a portafilter basket just to see how it behaves when we set it on there. So it looks like you're supposed to align the ears of the portafilter basket with each of these little pieces here, and they set down in. Yeah. Just like that. And as it sets down in, you can feel it sort of locking into place. So the portafilter is holding this into its position. And then actually a part of that process is as it's coming in, it's actually holding the needles in a straight vertical alignment as you're setting it on top of the basket. That's actually a nice thing. There's other tools on the market that are similar to this. I have one that's a spirographic. You have to make sure you pick it up straight vertically. Otherwise, if it's kind of pulled off to the side a little bit, the needles actually kind of push upwards and actually will kind of dig up the grounds a little bit. So the fact that this one holds it sort of vertically as you lift it off is a welcome touch. All right, let's see what else we have. So one of the things about this, I mentioned that one of the tools I have is a spirographic WDT tool. This one is not spirographic. This one, the needles are in a fixed position. And so basically it makes concentric circles. I believe I read in the description online that it has 2 millimeters gap. So the needles, if they were all in a straight line, would be 2 millimeters apart from each other. So think about that. That's going to be pretty good coverage. It's going to cover, nearly the whole puck. Spirographic style of WDT tool, obviously, if you spin it enough times, it'll actually cover every portion of it. But you could argue that's overkill. You think about 2 millimeters apart from each other, it's going to stir and break up all of the various clumps and everything very nicely, I would think. All right, so let's look at this mechanism for adjusting the height. Okay, so I see what's going on here. So as you rotate the dial, you can actually see the depth of this change. And what that's going to do is it's going to adjust the depth of the needles. So not all portafilter baskets are the same depth. So if you have a deeper basket, you don't want the needles to be too shallow, because then it won't actually go down as far into the bottom of the basket as you want. And conversely, if you have a more shallow basket, then if they go all the way down the bottom, it'll just drag and actually it'll bend the needles as it's doing its job, and actually perhaps make the puck quality worse after you're done with it. So being able to adjust this, that's a nice feature. One of my other videos indicated I actually really like using blind shakers, and you really don't want to use those together too much. Blind shakers accomplish the same purpose in a way that a WDT tool does. So for me, the way I like to use these is to more or less just level the top of the puck. Pull it so it's only just a little bit of the needles going down into the coffee puck. So when I actually use this, what I'm going to do is adjust it so there's just the minimum level of contact with the puck. So it's just basically leveling out the top of the bed to be perfectly even before I tamp it. So this looks like a pretty well-designed tool. Definitely looks industrial, if you will, with the big bolts on the side and chunky pieces of aluminum. This is nice. Based off of the pictures I've seen of the predecessors to this tool, this is definitely a step up, a step in the right direction. I'll try it out and see what I think. And depending on how it goes, I may include this in my day-to-day arsenal of coffee tools, or maybe it'll end up in my box of spare parts. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. If you are looking for something like this seems to be a pretty good tool, and based off what I've seen so far, it seems like it's pretty well made quality tool, and it has my recommendation. Happy brewing.